Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Bienvenidos.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ustedes.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Bienvenidos.
Muchas gracias.
That was nice. It's also in YouTube now.
Yeah, we are now streaming live on YouTube.
Cool.
Maybe we should. That's a good idea. Just to close the microphones from the audience because.
Yeah, I will. Okay, I have disabled the waiting room. We are live. Please do not swear. We welcome everybody to the IASPM research seminar for September 2021. My name is Rupert Till. I'm the chair of IASPM, and I'm very pleased to welcome you all to the research seminar today. We're streaming this live on YouTube and recording it as well, and the seminar will be put up onto YouTube, the whole thing afterwards, if you want to watch it again or link to someone else. Anyway, I'm just going to hand over straight away to Fernand, who will tell you more about today's event.
Thank you very much, Rupert. Welcome everyone to this IASPM monthly research seminar. So this month, the Spanish branch, we're hosting the seminar. I'm Fernand del Val, and I'm the president of the Spanish branch. And for us, it's a pleasure to introduce to Francisco Paco Betancourt, who will be our speaker today. He will talk about Spanish popular musicians and precariousness, past and present during the COVID time. I would like to introduce Paco briefly. Paco is a guitarist, musicologist. He's teaching at the Universidad Complutense de Madrid at musicology department, and he has studied flamenco guitar and musicology at Granada University. He has studied also in Edinburgh. He made his PhD thesis at Newcastle University. And he's a very well-known researcher in the Spanish IASPM branch in subjects such as flamenco, new flamenco, and Spanish popular music. Paco has published also and produced different albums in the UK and Spain. And for me, he's a very close colleague, and for me it's a pleasure to have him today. He will talk more or less about 45 minutes, and then we will have like 15 minutes for discussion. So, Paco, it's your time. The audio, Paco, is cancelled.
Paco, you do need to unmute.
You're mute. It's down, abajo a la izquierda, down to left. Paco, you have the mute button. Tienes que ponerte el audio, Paco, que estás muteado. Maybe Rupert, you can change his
now because
now.
Yeah, now you can hear me. Yes, thank you very much, Fernand. And first of all, I would like to thank Rupert Till and Fernand del Val for having me on board on this IASP seminar. I have to say that I've been member from IASP from 2005, I think. We went to the IASP conference in Rome and later in Mexico and Gijón, and the last one, it was Caso, I think the last one, that many colleagues from the Spanish IASP Society also went there. And today I want to speak about these Spanish popular musicians and precariousness. I'm gonna relate it to some concepts of displacement, do a very, very brief contextualization. Later, I'm gonna speak about some new flamenco musicians, but also not only about flamenco, but about Spanish popular musicians in general and some music technicians as well, and see the performance spaces, how when the times of COVID, you know, the repercussion that they have had in all these people, how artists, they have had to reinvent themselves using technology, like today that we thanks to that we having this kind of seminar. And also at the end, I would like to, so we can have a debate with Fernan and with yourselves about some political issues and some decisions and that maybe we should be working on. Okay, when we speak about the origins of flamenco, and not only about flamenco, but in general, some other Spanish popular musics, that flamenco is not only Spanish, but we think of the origins of blues, you know, Richard Middleton's books, and also from Giuseppe, new books about blues, and we found in these blues and jazz and other musics like tango, no, Argentinian tango, having these becoming from these humble origins. And if we do a reading, nice reading of this beautiful picture, we connected with different concepts, the concepts of identity, concepts of race, concepts of precariousness, displacement, and many readings. No, we can do that, but also we have to. But it's also in the music that I'm gonna play you in a way. Those kids singing. Okay, it's also in the music. That was the maestro Gerardo Núñez playing the guitar, and also many books about the origins, about this social history of flamenco by Alfredo Grimaldos, that we can read about the origins. Paco de Lucia used to say that, you know, he was like an artist who did very well in life. But he said that from the regions they had in common, he didn't want to speak about a concept of race related to authenticity, but saying that flamenco people were those who didn't have anything on the fridge. So they have that in common. It didn't matter if you were Romani, if you were a gypsy, non-gypsy, foreigner. No, they were sharing that. Obviously, there are other artists. Now we compare to this in the present, that this singer the other day on the social network, they call it Antonio Reyes, the Prince of Flamenco, say I don't think to sing well you have to struggle, no, to have that problem of not having anything on your belly. So it's many musicians that they have done very well in flamenco, but I'm gonna speak about the others. And I'm not gonna tend myself in to speak about these concepts of displacement or the origins of flamenco related to authenticity, etc., today. But yes, I have to say that some of the artists coming from Granada, Seville, Andalusia, non-Andalusia, who went to Madrid, to the capital, but also they went to Barcelona, to Catalonia. Some of them they were born in these little neighborhoods, these caves in Sacramento in Granada. But well, they went for many reasons to work in Madrid, and one of the main reasons it was obviously there was these performance spaces for they could perform. No, we found historical tablaos. We call it Villarrosa, Torre Bermejas, Corral de la Morería, Casa Patas, and since COVID, we have found this. Yeah, that many of those they have closed down their doors because they cannot manage with the situation, paying all the rents and everything, and having no income for many months now. So I was speaking with the director from Casa Patas and Blanca del Rey, and we decided from the university to organize with my colleague Elena Torres Clemente these seminars talking about the flamenco artists, these performance spaces in the past at the present in COVID times, worried that, to have some debate. At the beginning, it was just for the PhD students to share their work, but we have like a wonderful keynote by Cristina Cruz Roldan, and then we have some round tables, very stimulating round tables that joined by colleagues from Cordoba, from Granada, and from other universities. And we were debating about what happened, to these spaces. Some of them, they would say they need some kind of support from the government that we will hopefully later we will have that debate together. Since that seminar, that we have seen more tablaos, historical tablaos like the Villarrosa in Plaza Santana. They have closed down as well. See this flamenco dancer dressed in black, like the luto, because and we found some journals like some news in the journals, about this problem. It was impossible for Spain's clubs not to face these threats, and they were talking about this music, as UNESCO cultural heritage of humanity, how they were not support having faced these problems. They depend mainly here, they say 80% of their income, it was from those tourists, and because there was no tourists, obviously they have to close down the doors. And the National Association of Spanish Tablao, they contact us to please help them to create and to like some kind of work that we're working now in some articles and some to try to help them. They say 30% of them they are closed now, but is many more. We also invited to that seminar to Blanca del Rey, the famous dancer. Now she's artistic director of El Corral de la Morería, and obviously some of those musicians, because the way self-employed situation in Spain, they have to very complicate last year. Yeah, they say that that these musicians, they used to play in the tablao. Well, I will translate, sorry, this is in Spanish, but they were doing more than 50,000 performances, per year. And they used to do concert like the same in the jam sessions of blues and jazz in Madrid. They did several concerts and they lived from those concerts, but because some of them, they didn't pay they have some respond, they have to some problems. They struggle, for not having security, for those period of the COVID. But we have to speak not only about the musicians, but also the cooks who work in those tablaos, the technicians, sound technicians, light technicians, etc. They send us this kind of poem saying that what happened if the flamenco tablaos, they died. Obviously it's a drama not only for the artists, but for the culture, for the country and for the rest of the world. And we have to be more activists about our own culture. And how important are all those clubs and venues? They were not only places for performing. There are meeting points where different generations they learn, talking about transmission of knowledge. Talking to Enrique Morente, used to say that they used to go to El Candela. Many artists, not only flamenco musicians, Pina Baus, we're talking about many artists from jazz, Chick Corea, Rubén Blades, many musicians, and Pedro Almodóvar, etc., used to go to El Candela. And it was a place for the young guitarists like Gerardo Núñez to share their music and to do contacts, etc., etc. And we invite him, for example, to university. That was with the permission to the students, and to have these maestros sharing with us all those years and those performance spaces, which are essential for the not only for flamenco music. And we have the luck to perform there before they close down, and many other musicians from Nuevo Flamenco, like bands like Ketama, Ray Heredia, Barbería del Sur, they started rehearsing in that little cave there. This concept of new flamenco, which is controversial, and there have been a big debate. We see new texts from Cristina Cruz Roldán, from our colleague from University of Córdoba, Diego García Peinazo, and many others. And so we're talking here about flamenco fusion, the concept that Paco de Lucia didn't like to use, but we're not talking only about flamenco. We're talking about rock, we're talking about pop, we're talking is related to this new flamenco concept. So I wanted to speak today also about these drummers, about bass players, about professional musicians who join these bands, and also about the sound and light technicians. In the same week that we did that seminar about flamenco, I think was on Wednesday, and our seminar was on Friday. Fernand, thanks to our colleague Ruth Piquer and from the Department of Musicology at UCM, and Fernand Del Val, they organized this other seminar online, which was very interesting because it was Josep Pedro interviewing someone from the blues scene, and then Gonzalo from the singer-songwriters, and then I had the luck to interview like a jazz flamenco player as well, and she was talking out about those issues, because she thinks she's a teacher as well. Many of those musicians who stopped performing, the ones who had the chance to teach or teach online, or we can debate about that later. They at least they could support, but she had also like a performance space that she has to close down. Well, I will recommend her PhD dissertation about Jorge Pardo, which is amazing. So the COVID time came, and we were singing and clapping on our houses, and those who had the luck to have a studio at home, no, like Pablo Cedrian, who was invited by other colleague, Marco Juan de Dios, to university, but they started to think about, okay, what we're gonna do, you know, and they did that kind of version of I Will Survive that we finished with that song. Oh my God, we were listening, Fernand can say, you know, we were listening every single day, you know, at the end. But I'm gonna put it because it's a bit referential for that moment, you know, that we were locked in our houses. So here we go, a little example. Can we listen? Yes.
Partidas, cuando duerma con la soledad, cuando se me cierren las salidas y la noche no me deje en paz, cuando sienta miedo del silencio, cuando cueste mantenerme en pie, cuando se revelen los recuerdos y me pongan contra la pared. Resistiré, erguida frente a todo. Me volveré de hierro para endurecer la piel. Y aunque los vientos de la vida soplen fuerte, soy como el junco que se dobla, pero siempre sigue en pie. Resistiré para seguir viviendo. Soportaré los golpes y jamás me rendiré. Y aunque los sueños se me rompan en pedazos, resistiré, resistiré. Toda magia, cuando mi enemigo sea yo, cuando me apuñale la nostalgia y no reconozca ni mi voz, cuando me amenace la locura, cuando en mi moneda salga cruz, cuando el diablo pase la factura, o si alguna vez me faltas tú, resistiré, erguido frente a todo. Me volveré de hierro para endurecer la piel. Y aunque los vientos de la vida soplen fuerte, soy como el junco que se dobla, pero siempre sigue en pie. Resistiré para seguir viviendo, soportaré los golpes y jamás me rendiré. Y aunque los sueños se me rompan en pedazos, resistiré, resistiré. Toda la partida, cuando duerma con la soledad, cuando se me cierre la salida y la la noche no me deja en paz.
Resistiré, erguido frente a todo. Me volveré de hierro para endurecer la piel.
Okay, I closed down there. I'm not going to put the whole thing, but I wanted to get to that section with the flamenco musicians, Jose Merced and Jose Mi Carmona, and because they they did a version later, like the Swedish. Yeah, they did in Sweden. They did a similar version of this also by version in the COVID time. And we find this musician is very interesting to see how they were recording in the houses. Some of them, they have wonderful studio recordings. Other ones, they just have a computer and you see like a little room or something. This is from Ketama and India Martinez. You see they are in their houses and etc. You can read more about this on this publication I did for Cuadernos de Etnomusicología. The only thing is in Spanish, but if you're welcome, you can dip there. What happened? Yeah, after that song that we listen every day, then afterwards we started with La Escola del Hambre, and many people obviously know the main artists, some of these famous singers that we have been listening, females and males, but the musicians who sometimes play with them, or these flamenco dancers who have the tablaos closed, etc., asking money on the street because they didn't have anything to eat. So that's tough. Is something we have been living, and thank you to some of these organizations. I think the first one who received a Sky was giving to some artists, even we're talking about 3,000 euros. It was very good, but the first one all those musicians received, it was this IAE, that is this society for the musicians, not the composers, but the ones who are intérpretes, yeah, and ejecutantes, So and then new societies were created, like this one is called Unión Flamenca, to try to join together these flamencos to join to try to work together. To try to find a solution, to these problems and this issue that I would like to debate. This is some of the information. It came. I remember Gerardo Núñez contact me and say, Paco, is this maybe you are interested. I know you are teaching university, but obviously. And then other artists, other flamenco artists from Barbería del Sur, from this new flamenco, create similar projects recording many different musicians in their houses. And El Negri, from Barbería del Sur, we visit them in his studio. It's called Mestizo Puro, and they did a similar thing with this song from Ray Heredia called Alegría de Vivir. Sorry, the dogs are around here. Okay, so I'm going to put you this song that you will see is with Universal Music, but also is Cruz Roja to try to help the society, and also from actors, musicians, and even football players who were doing this video to try to get funding, to help all those.
Cuando realizamos la magia de hacer actos de amor, la felicidad y la alegría de vivir brotan instantáneamente en nuestros corazones. Sumémonos a esta maravillosa campaña de la alegría de vivir.
El infierno de tu gloria ha pasado por mí. Ahora siento y pienso adentro alegría de vivir.
Alegría de vivir cuando estás cerca de mí.
Ahora sueño y pienso adentro lo que habrá dentro de mí. Lo que habrá dentro de mí, lo que habrá dentro de mí. Yo la busco y no la encuentro. Yo la busco y yo la tengo, alegría de vivir.
El infierno de tu gloria ha pasado por mí.
Ahora siento y pienso dentro la alegría de vivir. El infierno de tu gloria ha pasado por mí.
Yo la busco, yo la encuentro, la alegría de vivir.
Alegría de
Alegría cuando llegue el día y la puerta se abra, de vernos a todos siendo conscientes, saliendo a buscarla, protegerla, cuidarla, mi manera y la tuya ambas a la par, deben de ir a la par. La alegría no puede volverse a encerrar, ahora esperar lo que habrá.
lo que habrá dentro de mí, lo que habrá dentro de mí.
Yo la busco y yo la encuentro, alegría de vivir.
Mi manera de sentir, mi manera de sentir. Yo la busco y ya la tengo, la alegría de vivir.
Amigo there. Okay, I'm gonna cut it here. You can find it easily on YouTube if you search for this Alegría de Vivir, you know, for try to get some funding, no, for La Cruz Roja, no, and this you see many very famous faces there from the Spanish TV, cinema, and actors, actresses, etc., etc. So I think there was some ideas, no, to try to help in a way. You can read more in this book that it was edited by another colleague of mine from UCM, from Universidad Complutense de Madrid, from the musicology department, Inmaculada Matia Polo and Enrique Encabo, who edited this book, and it's some of that fieldwork where Enrique Heredia was telling me about the problems he had when he had to close down his studio and not be able to having the artist recording in his studio, etc., etc. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of autoethnography here, and if another key point I wanted to speak about, and we can debate later about, apart from the politics, is that at some moment we were on the stages, we were on the theaters, we were playing in big spaces, having concerts with many musicians, you know, from the Canary Islands, from here, from Madrid, from Cuba, and big bands there. And then at some moment we saw ourselves there playing with the students, thanks to Julio Arce, no, that is the director of the musicology department, who organized this with Marco, and it was a beautiful thing, you know, just to play online. First time for, imagine most of us playing through Instagram, Facebook, but well, it was a beautiful experience. Later, some conference as well, like this by Zoom, or even new possibilities. I would like you to tell me not only the bad side, no, from this COVID, but also new things happen, and we started to organize courses, doing some collaboration with other institutions in Barcelona, like Taller des Musics, Institut Flamenco de Madrid, thanks to David Leiva, and there was some other conferences I've been receiving through the IASP list, you know, recent publications, you know, from Wales, from Scotland, from Australia and other places. And the other day, for example, we had this seminar, well, before the summer, together with the university. Thank you to Dr. Sergio Camacho, who is based on University of Nottingham in Malaysia, and he did this conference about creative industries and performing arts in the Brave New Normal, which was very interesting to do links and to build bridges between Madrid, from UCM to these other universities which are in Malaysia. And we see that the bands, those famous singers, they had I don't know, booked over 160 concerts for the year, and with the band members, obviously all that disappear. They have to go home. They started to work in new projects, and when they came back, for example, they created new projects on just 2 musicians, 3 musicians with the technician staff, and all the rest of the musicians, they say, okay, you can stay at home because after this COVID situation, we have changed our mind. And before we were performing with 6 musicians on the stage, and now we're just playing duo. So what happened to those musicians? The ones who had studio recordings did similar, like Full Fandango that I was speaking, I've been researching. I present some material there in Kassel. I remember Kassel. Similar with 4 or 5 musicians on stage. And then, well, this is connected also to the concept of technostalgia, recording with the tapes, etc., and do remixes on their own music and adapted projects. And sometimes they touring just 2 musicians, with the sound and light musician, for maybe to keep their salary. But what happened with those other musicians which have all the booking for those tours? I would like us to have that debate. And finally, for my conclusions, I know it's early, but I would like to have a good debate. Fernand was worried that I was going to speak here for hours because I love speaking a lot, but I prefer we have this debate. So my idea is this post-COVID, we need to speak about some political issues here. I just received today, thanks to Daniel Gomez for sending me this, that today was on the Congress in Madrid, that the project that like a law project for the tablaos, those performance spaces, tablaos from España, to have some kind of help from the government. I would like to ask you what you think about that, about which political decisions they have to be made, especially to care a little bit more about the popular musicians from Spain, well, not only from Spain, from all over the world, but we're talking today about Spanish musicians. And obviously, when these performance venues, they close down, that it takes to this precarious situation from the musicians. And in Spain, we have to say that because the self-employed system is not great, just to say, it doesn't matter how much money or how many concerts you do per year. They still charge you every month like 300 euros. Doesn't matter if you do concerts or not. So obviously, some of the musicians and technicians, sometimes they prefer just to find like a company and to send the invoices, and they do that for them. But then when they want to retire in the future, they're gonna really struggle. So the precariousness is gonna come back again. So Fernand, please help me, and just, I don't want to say only horrible things, you know, about our country, our music industry, and the politicians, because now, thanks we had some left-wing politicians on the government. I don't know, but if we had the right-wing politicians, maybe, I don't know. So please, in this little debate, just about the new technological opportunities, good things, and if we can have that debate about the self-employed situation of the Spanish. Thank you very much for your time, and hope we can continue just with this debate. Thank you for having me on board.
Thank you, Paco. You were totally right. You just talked for 30 minutes. As you told me before, I was quite afraid when I saw the
so many slides.
Presentation, so many slides. No, it's great. Thank you very much, Paco.
Thank you.
It has been a very suggesting presentations. You have touched many questions. And first of all, I would like to highlight that I think that in the Spanish popular music studies in research, there has been few research about that question, about labor conditions of musicians. I mean, of course, popular music studies in Spain is quite new area, but I think you're opening a new road in order to deepen on these kind of questions that I think that on music scenes, on music industry, it's very important, and in other countries, in other academic cultures, there has been a lot of research about that. So I think that's a very interesting point. And about the question of political decisions, we were talking before briefly that recently there has been a debate about the artist statute or artist rule, because it's something that I've been hearing about that a long time ago, since 10 years ago, that there is not an institute of not just artists, but of cultural workers, of artists, of people who work around the cultural areas. It's something that it's debating now on the parliament. I was checking on the news because I was not sure about that. But it's always a huge discussion. It's very difficult to find a common point of view of this kind of questions on the Spanish political arena. And basic questions about Spanish popular music and politics in Spain, it's that I guess that there are other cultural areas such as literature or cinema who has received more political attention, political protection, because maybe they are perceived as economical elements of Spanish economy. But Spanish popular music industry, I think, is not perceived in this way from Spanish government, and I'm not sure if left parties, Partido Socialista, Socialist Party, or right wing parties, there are huge difference in the way they pay attention to the culture. I don't know, but it's a huge debate. I think we can open the debate to questions to the rest of the participants, Rupert, or anyone who has any questions about that. I know there are some members of the IASPM Spanish branch that has made some research also about this kind of questions. So if anyone want to raise hand or just open mic, you're allowed to do it.
Pedro? I don't know if Giuseppe is around.
Sorry, I forgot to say something. If someone is afraid to speak in English, You can make questions in Spanish, and Paco and me, we can try to translate them to English for the English speakers. So don't be afraid. If you want to ask in Spanish, feel free about that. Okay, you agree, Paco?
Yeah, of course. And
So
we will translate.
Of course. So if someone is not comfortable with English, don't worry.
I'll start with something in English. How do you
Sure.
see this going forward in the future? I mean, we're kind of halfway out of the COVID pandemic. I just wondered how you see things developing or changing as time goes on.
Thank you, Rupert. I see that now in Spain. I don't know in the UK and what happened. I think things are starting again, little by little, to start. To have more performances. We still have the problem with the numbers, because obviously in a small club, how many people can you have there is allowed, having the social distance, no, the pandemic distance. So clubs that in the past we were packed, no, to see a little concert, and that money was for the band. Now obviously if you have half of the audience there, well, it's very difficult. It's difficult to, I don't know, maybe you can tell us about the UK, if you see, or Fernan, maybe they see it differently. But I think that it started to, it's more gigs now, but I still see that the musicians, they have reduced the bands on stage, and because obviously they cannot afford to have many people. I don't know, what do you think, Fernan, or
I think there is a huge discussion nowadays inside music scenes about what you was pointing out, the question of how many of the first of all, many clubs has not been allowed yet to open because of as you say, because of the social distance and how many people could be inside the venues. There is for people from music industry, there is a contradiction, because cinemas, theater, those kind of venues have open, and we can go to the theater, we can go to the cinema, but not to popular music concerts. So that's a problem. And I think there has been another important problem with festivals, music festivals, which has been an economic engine for the Spanish popular music industry the last 10 years. And this summer, some of them try to go back to those kind of huge music festivals. And the medical question was very difficult. And I remember in Catalonia, they celebrate, I think, 2 or 3, and there was also a huge discussion because of how to do the test before people access to the venue, how to organize it. So I think the situation maybe is a little bit better, but still what I perceive from media mainly, and what some musicians, producers are follow on social networks, they are quite angry about the political decisions. Yeah, that's what I perceive.
Also, it will be interesting, Fernan, thank you very much, to add the festivals, no, to it. I would like to speak about the music industry, because we see from those artists that I've been showing you, just only a few, they are under the 3 majors, like Universal, Warner, and Sony. Yeah, but then the rest is that precariousness of, how they're gonna record. Okay, they have to do their own crowdfundings, etc., etc. So I think I don't know. I think we will need more support also from the music industry in Spain, from the majors and from the indie, no, from the little ones who also, I'm sure they are suffering after all these 17, 18 months of being closed, etc. So I don't know if you want to add something about the music industry.
Yeah, I agree with your point of view. I guess also the picture you show it here. I think that was demonstration, but not organized, not just for musicians, but from workers. Technician is the word I didn't find. Yeah, technician. That was something also commented on media, on newspapers, on music journals. The question of technicians and how some of them had to reinvented their works and move to another areas, teaching or other areas. Sorry, Paco.
Some of them, they have to close down their companies, and many of them. This morning I was speaking with Guiomar Fernández Troncoso, who is a co-director of the Ballet Nacional de España, and we were talking because she wants to do her PhD thesis about politics as well and cultural, and she was telling me that it have been very complicated, you know, because musician, and sometimes we think, oh no, it's their fault. No, it's not their fault. You know, it's I think some big political decisions they have to be made, you know, to make easier. Like in France, we were talking about France. In France, for example, you pay depending of how many concerts you have, or depending how you pay for the related to your incomes. But in Spain, it doesn't matter what you are putting in. Is also, she was telling me that they consider in France the hours that you spend on rehearsals, not only the hour that you are on top of the stage, but they are considering also the hours that you spend to rehearse with the other musicians, and they have like a kind of salary on that. I'm not talking about only the government have to help, you know, culture and the musicians and the technicians, but maybe to create new laws to make things easier. No?
Yeah.
But not like in Cuba, the musicians, they have like a salary for the government. No, I'm not talking about the other side of the ocean. No, I'm talking about new laws to make people, you know, this musician and technician things easier. I don't know. Maybe we can have more debate about that. How Rupert see it from.
Hello. Hi everyone.
Hi, Josep. Nice to see. Nice to
Hi,
see.
Sorry. Yes. Well, Paco, first of all, thank you for the presentation, which I think was really interesting, and it's really a very big topic right now. So I have a question, more specific question for you, if you can, and then I want to do a little comment on the actual crisis we found ourselves. The specific question is if you could speak a little bit more about your interviews with people from tablaos, meaning casa patas, and how exactly they have expressed themselves in this situation, being flamenco, having flamenco such a huge connection with Spanish identity, and this takes us to the idea of having a more strong protection over it. And this actually connects with my other observation, which is about the situation of small venues, which you've been talking about too, in different genres. Some of them are beginning to open, but others are not. There has been a map circulating on online in the social networks, which talked about how the vaccination percentage in Spain is very high. It's one of the highest in Europe, according to the Spanish authorities. But the map does a comparison with the different restrictions that are facing the popular music industries in the venues, just in those venues. And the Spanish case shows that all 4 restrictions are being placed now, while it's the only country in Europe. In Italy and Portugal, they have 3 of these restrictions. I guess you understand this better with the map. Maybe I can show it later in the chat. Yeah, but I think what I mean by this is we are in a critical situation, but I'm also concerned by a long-term situation, which is the loss of mid-sized music venues. You know, for instance, El Plaza. El Plaza Jazz Bar is now a pharmacy. Just over the time of 10, 15 years, we've seen a lot of venues closing down, and we don't have a kind of a recovery of that. So it's really a concern for me long term. I also face this question, which people ask me sometimes, what can we do? And I'm thinking I should prepare better for this question, because I still don't know, but it definitely has to do with some kind of protection of historical places. Yeah. But on the other side, I wonder if, and this is my final question, if I wonder, and this is perhaps my bias, but if young people are as invested in popular music in terms of live encounter and music played with instruments, if that makes sense. If this is becoming if young people have the same kind of investment in this kind of entertainment in our everyday life, as perhaps older generations. This is a question I'm thinking out loud. But I think that's all. And thank you very much for the presentation, Paco.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sept, and congratulations for your book, your new book that I will recommend everyone to read. Well, I just, the first question, when I was speaking with Blanca del Rey from Corral de la Morería, and I was speaking with Martin from Casa Patas, we have two versions of it. First one, well, Casa Patas, first, they decided to close down and to keep the Fundación open to try to maintain, but tuvieron que despedir a todos los empleados, ¿no? So they had to, so that was very, very difficult for himself when he was telling me that, Paco, this is a family business that he have been running for years and years and years, you know. We have been looking after the flamenco musicians, what, as you say, you know, is connected to Spanish identity. That we have William Washabau's book about Spanish music and the national identity of Spain, you know, that we could debate. But it's not only about flamenco, because we saw in Café Central, it was almost closing down and they wanted to put a McDonald's there. And I think from Patrimonio, they will have to do some kind of supporting those jazz clubs, these blues clubs, flamenco clubs. Sometimes they are mixed clubs, you know, like Café Berlín, because they happen, is where like the cenas compartidas that we were talking at that seminar, you know, in the same club, it happens electronic music, flamenco, jazz, blues, and all, you know, all mixed up. And it's very problematic for these middle clubs. In the case of, so that was what Martin had to do with Casa Patas, to close down, despedir, and to wait for all these months to try to see if the tourists come back and he can reopen, but he will have to contract again to all the people who are in ERTE, you know, and you know what happened now in Spain with ERTE? Many people, they still waiting to receive those ERTEs. And the other case, for example, Corral de la Morería, Blanca del Rey was telling us that they try to keep open, well, kind of open, and to do performances in other festivals. For example, they have the connection with Flamenco on Fire in Pamplona. They have connections, so they send their musicians to look after the musicians. They send them to perform in other places which are open. So it's like different strategies to look after your musicians, and yeah, and but they have been very, very hard. Let's see what happened today in the Congress, but let's see what happened with the tablaos. But as you said, we will have to see what happened in the future, because now we have seen the first impact. No, the first impact, okay, we can handle this, we don't have income, we still have to pay rent, we have to pay this. Okay, I cannot manage, close down. And the other one is, okay, I keep my business, family business for many, many, many years. I keep it open. I try to wait and wait for months and months to again, to see if the audience, not just the tourists, but what you were saying is very interesting, the young people, that it looks that they prefer today to be in Netflix and to be at home than to go out to the clubs. I don't know if you were referring to that. I don't know. You were referring to that or not?
Yes, among other things. Yes, I'm thinking of different types of entertainment, the way in which music related. I think music still plays the huge central role in identity, but I'm referring to the actual lifestyle of going out, maybe during the week, not necessarily until, or maybe, yes, combining with other types of entertainment. But some of the articles that are speaking on this at this time, and I'm kind of drawing on that too, refer that we have seen images the last weekends about botellones, which is drinking in the streets, which I actually think it has been very much criminalized at this time, and perhaps that's not the ideal approach to it. But it is mind-blowing to see all those people there together. Perhaps there's music, obviously there's going to be music there, but the actual network among the city where people go to experience music in a mid-sized venue, that's the kind of encounter I'm referring to.
Okay. Good, excellent.
I guess maybe we're on time. Rupert, I think maybe we should close this seminar.
I would like to say thank you to Josep for the question. Thank you, Fernan and Rupert, for having me involved. I just leave at the end there my email address and my music as well. I want to share it with you, and hopefully we can go back to do some recordings and some more gigs, because it's something related to Josep. I just want to say goodbye, but about the jam sessions that all the musicians used to go to those to share the music, and now if you don't have the teaching, and also the teaching have been reduced. Thank you to the teaching, some of those musicians, they have survived, but the ones who don't have the teaching, then well, thank you very much. I don't want to say thank.
So thank you very much for that really interesting talk. It's been fascinating to hear what's going on around the world at the moment in terms of music. So we'll continue next month to move on to another country hosting. Thank you very much, Paco, and thank you, Fernan, for organizing that. And we look forward to seeing you all again next month when IASPM UK and Ireland will be hosting.
Yes.
And details will be circulated soon.
Thank you very much.
Seminar online, so you'll be able to see it again or pass it on or use it for your students or whatever.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.